Albert Einstein, as we all know, was the greatest thinker in human history. He was so intelligent that he could outsmart thousands of scientists alone. Einstein considered, realized, and made simple for the entire world what we as human beings cannot possibly imagine in the far future. The theory of relativity and the photoelectric effect, two laws that Albert Einstein proposed, shocked and alarmed the entire world. He was given the Nobel Prize as a result of this. People thought Einstein had a distinct intellect that was far different from other people because of his amazing capacity to think and understand.
He requested that no part of his corpse be studied after his death. Instead, after his death, he had instructed that his remains be burned to ashes. But what actually followed was what Einstein was scared of. When Einstein passed away in Princeton Hospital on April 18, 1955, the physician who arrived for the autopsy to determine the cause of death discreetly removed Einstein's brain, possibly out of curiosity to learn more about the world's most wise man's mind.
The man who kidnapped Albert Einstein's brain was Dr. Thomas Harvey, who was more curious about this mind than what will happen to his job. Dr. Harvey had to lose his job when Princeton Hospital learned about his act a few days later. But he was able to persuade Einstein's son, Hans Albert, to agree. He wanted to find the information buried in his father's unique intellect and share it with the world. The longest psychological trip of Einstein's brain started on that day. Dr. Harvey was an expert in autopsies because he was a pathologist. His single thought was that he might study the working of such a brilliant mind. Dr. Harvey was no longer employed by Princeton Hospital. He had already preserved Einstein's brain, so he took it to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where he took many photographs of it before chopping it into 240 pieces and separating each piece individually, stored them in a jar and hid it in his basement.
Dr. Harvey used to argue frequently with his wife about this matter, considering that his wife frequently made threats that she would take this brain and throw it elsewhere. One day, the argument got so bad that both the husband and the wife had to get a divorce. Dr. Harvey relocated to Wichita, Kansas, where he worked as a medical supervisor in a biological testing lab. There, in his spare time, he made an effort to comprehend Einstein's brain. He frequently quit his jobs after that and began to wander around other cities. Years went by, but Dr. Harvey was unable to do any in-depth studies on Einstein's brain. Instead, his medical license was revoked and he was even had to work in a plastic factory. The first wise choice he ever made was to send the various components of his brain to the top neuropathologists in the world for in-depth analysis, which he duly did. The first study on Einstein's brain was released in 1985, which was 30 years after the brain was stolen in 1955.
Following that, several research on this brilliant brain were published by neuropathologists all around the world during the following 28 years. It was claimed that Einstein's brain was very different from a typical person's brain. The brain's corpus callosum region showed the most variation. It is important to understand that the human brain is divided into two sections. Every action a human takes is first completed in one area of the brain, after which the brain transmits signals to that location in the body. Our body's right side is controlled by the left brain and the left side by the right brain. Additionally, 90% of the people use their left brains for speaking, understanding, mathematical computations, and writing. The right brain, on the other hand, is in charge of creativity and understanding of forms in music and art. You must be asking at this point how the corpus callosum fits into all of this. Let's say you are using a keyboard or phone to type.
Meanwhile, your hands are typing at the same time. Your right hand types some alphabets. While typing, your left hand made a mistake. So you use your right hand to immediately rectify this error, demonstrating how your right brain signals your left brain to immediately fix errors it makes. The so-called corpus callosum serves as a communication link between the two portions of the brain. Additionally, Einstein's corpus callosum was a little bit bigger than the average person's. In other words, his right and left brains had a very strong link, which allowed Einstein to simultaneously simultaneously comprehend fairly complex problems and scenarios. And the experts believe that because of this, the flow of neurons in his brain was significantly improved. Good neuronal flow indicates that his ability to calculate mathematically was substantially greater. Albert Einstein was able to use his mind alone to solve difficult math equations without the use of a pencil and paper. The study's findings also included a second explanation for the rise in neurons.
When Einstein's brain was weighted, it weighed 1230 grams, while the average human brain weighs 1400 grams. The scientists believe he had more neurons since the lining of his brain was so thin. The largest debate, though, was whether Einstein had such a unique brain from birth or if it developed later. Examination revealed that Albert Einstein was born unable to talk for 5 years, while some kids start talking around the age of 2 or 3. Even when he did not want to talk much and spent most of his time lost in thought. But he was always able to remember things. He did not require assistance in learning math facts. Instead of memorizing algebra and numbers, he understood them logically. Only mathematics and physics were the only areas in which Einstein's numbers were higher than any other during his academic career.
When Albert Einstein was 12, a teacher left his geometry book with him. Einstein read the entire book in one day and solved all of his geometry problems. He also mastered differential calculus by the age of 14. He was so proficient in math and physics that when he would raise his hand to ask a question in class, the teacher would become alarmed because most of Einstein's inquiries were above the comprehension of the lectures. The young man's lifelong ambition was to sum all the laws of the universe in a single equation. Einstein stunned the world by publishing 4 research articles during his lifetime. Because of this, he was also given the Nobel Prize.
Let us know by commenting what do you know about Albert Einstein.
That's it for today. Bye for now.